Hey guys, this is Adura from iFlip Academy. So now if you've been going through this video series and you've been following us meticulously like you should be, you might have a problem. People are starting to call you. What do? How do you respond? What are you supposed to say? So that's what we're gonna go over in this video. This is the first step of the evaluation part of the framework. So people are calling me. What do I do? So sit back. First of all, relax. When it comes down to your phone ringing, it's always a good thing. But if you've never done this before, you might be a bit nervous. What do I say? Blah, blah, blah. And it's very simple. When sellers or potential sellers are calling you, you just want to carry a conversation with them. And one of the first things, it's a couple of things that you want to know. This business, in terms of lead generation and then responding to people, comes down to extracting certain pieces of information that you want to gather in order to build a case for whether this is something that makes sense or doesn't make sense. So one of the first things you want to know is, remember the formula. M plus E equals D. Motivation plus equity equals a deal. So, is this potential seller motivated? And how do you find that out? So you go, so Miss Smith calls you. She has a property at 222 Main Street. And one of the questions you want to ask is, so Miss Smith, sounds like a decent property. Why are you selling it? You want to see what's causing the person to want to sell the property, because if you remember, we want to deal with people that usually have some kind of situation, some kind of underlying situation that's motivating them to want to sell this property, causing them to be able to sell it at a discount to us. So what's your motivation? Did you recently inherit this property? Is this a property that this person owns but hasn't seen in the last 15 years? Is this a property that's about to go into foreclosure? Is this a property that's vacant? What is the seller's situation? You must know. Two, the second part of the equation, equity. So, Ms. Smith, what's owed against the property? Are there any liens, any taxes, any mortgages? And that's how you determine does this even make sense pushing forward? If somebody's calling you about an area where you already know properties only go for no more than 80 grand, and the person's telling you they owe 100 grand from it, disqualified. But if the person's saying, I have no mortgage, I have no debt, then this is somebody that actually has the ability to be able to take our discounted offer. Condition. So, Ms. Smith, tell me a little bit about the property. What's going on the interior of the property? How are the mechanicals? Has anything recently been updated? How's the roof? How's the electric? How's the plumbing? And in a lot of cases, people that are going to be calling in, good chance that the property hasn't been updated in a while. So, but you want to know, what kind of shape is this property in? What am I walking into? Is it a total tear down, or is it something that's just cosmetic? These are the things that you want to know. Another thing you want to know is timeline. This is another kind of secondary gauger of motivation. So, Ms. Smith, how soon are you looking to sell this property? What's your timeline like? Some words you might want to be on the look for is, I want to sell it yesterday, or I want to sell it immediately, or I just want to get this thing off my plate. Those are some kind of trigger words to let you know, hey, this is somebody that might be motivated. Then, last but not least, what is this person looking to get for this property? And do not be fooled. 99% of the people that you talk to have some kind of ballpark figure in mind. They might say they don't, but they usually do. And you want to try to get that number out of them on the phone. So here's a quick thing. So you're talking to Miss Smith. Oh, by the way, Miss Smith, did you have a ballpark figure in mind of what you're looking to get for this property? And Miss Smith says, no, I was just, I just want you to come out, look at it, give me an offer. So what you say, and this works for me over 90% of the time in terms of extracting the number out of the potential seller, is, well, you know what, Miss Smith, while we would love to come out, we have a lot of people calling us on a weekly basis to purchase their properties. In order to be more effective and kind of potentially not waste your time or waste our time, what we like to do is just kind of get a ballpark figure out of you just to see where you want to be at price-wise, to see if it even makes sense for us to come out. So we don't want to waste your time. Gas is like wild expensive right now, and we surely don't want to waste our time. So if you did have a ballpark figure, it might help if you're able to give it to us and we work from there. And what this does is, once you're telling someone, and a lot of this business just comes down to the way you say things to people and just psychology. So if I'm saying to you, Miss Smith, I don't want to waste your time, the person that's hearing that is like, oh man, I don't want to waste my time either. So usually that person is like, okay, well, you know what I was looking to get for, I wanted 30,000 for it. Oh, I was looking to get 50,000 for it, or whatever their number is. And that's a great way to get that initial number out of that seller on the phone. So quick recap. We want to know, how motivated is this person? What's their situation? Why are they looking to sell? We want to know if there's any liens, mortgages, judgments, debt. What's owed against the property? Condition. We want to know what kind of shape the property's in. Is it falling down? What's going on with it? Timeline. When is this person looking to sell? How soon are they looking to sell? Price. Probably one of the most important. What are they looking to get for this property? So in this bracket over here, when you're taking calls, especially most of you will probably be working before going full-time in this business. So you probably have a 9 to 5, whatever. So how do you market and then respond to people? So if you're working a full-time job, it's more than likely that you might not be able to take calls live, which is fine. When I started out, I had a full-time job. I was a bit more reckless, and I was actually taking live calls on the job. So that didn't last too long. But if you can't take live calls, I'm actually going to give you, and this will be in the resources section of our website, there's a cloud-based phone company called Ring Central. That's www.ringcentral.com, where you can get a number or multiple numbers through them, and people call that number, and you can tell the number to do whatever you want it to do. So if you want the number to ring to your cell phone, your house phone, your office phone, you can do that. If you want the number to go directly to voicemail for folks to leave a message for you, you can do that too. So don't let that deter you. I talk to a lot of people that work all the time and they're like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this, I work. Nah, that's not an excuse. There's a solution for that. And appointments. Do you set appointments with these folks? How do you do it? When do you know to go out? Simple. If you're just starting out and you're trying to grasp everything in this business, I want you to go out regardless. Just start taking the opportunity to go out and meeting with sellers and just understanding the back and forth, building rapport, so on. So if you're just starting out and you haven't done this a lot yet, I want you to at least set a goal to meet with the first 25 people that call you, and just go out and get a good feel for it. Now, what happens when people start calling you? So if you're marketing to a certain area, certain zip code, targeted or shotgun, what happens is ultimately the first part of evaluating is evaluating the actual lead, the person that's calling you, the motivation, equity, and so on. The second part is then analyzing in terms of trying to find value for the property, which we're actually going to discuss in the next video after this one. So what happens, people are calling you. As you start to evaluate more properties and you start to place values on more properties, it's kind of a continuous learning cycle. So if Miss Smith calls you about a property on Main Street and you analyze, you figure out what the property is worth, but she doesn't accept your offer. 3 weeks later, somebody else calls you about a property on Sharp Street, which is 2 blocks down from Main Street. But while you were analyzing Main Street, you had to look at properties on Sharp Street to determine value. So now somebody's calling you about a property on Sharp Street, and you automatically know, oh man, that property is worth $60,000, $30,000, whatever. So this process allows you to start to learn local neighborhood trends in terms of values, what's going on by default, because you have to do research when people call you. Now here's a quick tip before we go. And my mentor put me on to this when starting out. There's a phrase called when possible, make love to your seller. What does that mean? It means when people call you, if you have the opportunity to build rapport with them. I've done deals where there were multiple potential buyers looking at the property, including myself, where I just built a real good rapport, a good relationship with the seller, sometimes before even meeting them. And then it's kind of like this cosmic thing where the seller and I have gotten so cool that they've automatically in their head decided that I'm the guy that they want to sell the property to. Quick example, I bought a house not too long ago from a guy that lived in New Jersey, owned a property here in Philadelphia, and we were talking, he called, we spent like 40 minutes one time talking about the Eagles and the Jets and football and just life in general. So the guy ends up making the trip. He was an absentee owner. He made the trip down, showed me the property. Turns out somebody had broken into the property and it was in worse shape than he ever imagined. So this guy only met me one time, actually said, you know what, man, I just don't even want to deal with this right now. Here's the key to the property. Call me up, let me know what you want to pay for it. It's a done deal. I'm not talking to anybody else about this property. It's yours. And I ended up purchasing the house for $2,000 and selling it to somebody else for $10,000. Why? Just really because we built that rapport. That 45-minute conversation talking about football led to a $10,000 profit because the guy trusted me and it was just a done deal. So when in doubt, when you have the chance to, make love to the seller, because you never know, that person you're on the phone with chopping it up with might be your first or your next $20,000 deal. So in our next video, we'll talk about actually figuring out value and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, stay tuned. This is Adura from iFlip Academy, and I'll see you next time.